So it's really important that you have this, because what I want to do today is I want to talk you through how we're going to transfer everything we've been talking about to real life. As part of that, I want you to have a plan that you can use for yourselves. And I will explain that again in a few minutes, because I want to give people the usual 5 minutes for people to join. And then at that point, I can sort of explain what the plan is for today, which is not the usual academic lecture at all. I want to make it practical so that you guys can get some use from it and benefit from it. So that's the plan for today. Is everybody okay with the group sessions? All okay? Any problems? I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did an announcement, which was some people requested that we extend the deadline for loading up the slides for your presentations. And I managed to go and speak to the assessment people within the university. And this morning, they agreed to allow us to extend the deadline to 12 o'clock UK time on Sunday. So that's been confirmed now and it's all accepted. So there's no problem at all. If you have any technical difficulty loading the slides up, please write to Elena. I've spoken to her just now, as some of you saw, and she's very happy to help make sure that everything gets loaded up properly and on time and how it needs to be. So no problem there whatsoever. We have a guest speaker joining us in a little while. His name is Graham Miller, and he's the CEO of Jersey Telecom. He and I have worked together on multiple different jobs in the past. He is a global leader, and I wanted you to hear from a real person who's made a senior career on the global stage and has been in leadership position for decades, to hear his perspective on what makes a global success as a leader, whether managing a global company or moving countries. He's lived in 8, same as me. He speaks multiple languages. His countries are slightly different to mine. He lived in Hungary, he lived in Russia. I worked with him, or I've been involved with him in all of those situations. So we have a lot of business experience connection together. And so he will be joining us in about an hour to speak about his experiences. Okay, so without any further ado, let's kick off. Is that okay with everyone? Let me know if it isn't. Now, where is the screen share? And I will bring this up. Okay, can everybody see the slides now? Please, just somebody tell me yes, that's all. Excellent, thank you so much. Okay, so I thought for today, it would be really, really useful to answer the question, which is always the key question. We've spent 11 sessions talking about global leadership. So the question is, so what? So what? For me, the so what is, what are you going to do as a result of everything we've talked about in the last 10 weeks to make yourselves more successful as future global leaders? So I want to talk today about how you develop a plan that helps you transfer this learning to real life workplace, and for you to be successful, not just for yourselves, but for your teams, for your companies, and for the world at large. You know from my previous discussions that I passionately believe that global leadership is lacking, and one of the rarest qualities and capabilities out in the world. And that as things go, the need for good quality global leadership is going to increase substantially. And I think the solution is to have the younger generation, like yourself, filling that gap. Some old fuddy-duddies like myself, some things we're never going to think differently about. It's embedded in us. It's what we're used to. It's what we know. We talked about that when we talked about generational differences and perspectives. Some of it's just to do with aging, some of it about our generation. But you guys, you're the future, and you are my hope for better leadership in the years ahead. So that's what we're going to do today. We have those templates, which I hope that you've seen, that I've loaded onto Minerva. And I would like us to spend some time coming up with a plan for you. Now, here's the thing about the plan. This plan is just for you. No one's ever going to see it. It's so that you have something to modify. None of it is set in stone. I would like you to have something so that you could modify it. Because situations change, times change, your needs change. And if you have a plan, you have something that you can modify. Whereas if you don't have anything solid, then you're floating. Let's do a quick revision, if that's okay, just so that we know what we're talking about. So do you remember when we first started the module? What was the first module? Anybody remember what was the first module and what did we learn? Anybody want to contribute? First module is, what is a leader? Basic. And what do I always say? Look behind you. If no one's following, you're not leading. And the fact that leadership is not just a position. It's an emotional connection. We talked about whether it's better to be feared or loved as a leader, how to be respected. And we talked about how being a leader is different to being a manager, how in most companies we are overmanaged and underled. And that really the focus for me and for this module has been leadership rather than management. Week 2, we talked about, okay, leadership is not in a vacuum. You need to understand the situation. You need to understand the context. We went through all the different theories and how the thoughts about leadership have evolved and how some things have not and stayed the same historically. How a great leader has got enough flexibility to adjust themselves to different needs of the people and the situations. Week 3, we discussed, what does global mean? All the different world cultures, the model of how you define culture and how to prepare for it, the dangers of stereotypes, the fact that the range of differences within a culture is many times greater than the difference between country cultures, and the fact that certain human needs go across all cultures because we're all human, and that's often where things go wrong. Week 4, we talked about how you develop future leaders, and Andy Callahan came to talk to us. And we were talking about how you develop an investment-orientated talent pipeline. What kind of development really works? What kind of development doesn't? And what is the definition of potential and how to grow and develop your potential to be the best version of yourself that you can, and developing yourself as a leader. Week 5, we talked about moving abroad, country moves. We talked about the development opportunity, but also the risk. We talked about the expense. We talked about some of the factors that make it a success for the business and for the individual, and some of the basic rules for success, based on my evidence, research, and personal experiences. Do you remember week 6? Week 6, was about teams, global teams. How you build a team, how you develop a team, different types of teams, how you make teams inclusive through diversity, but also through their attitude and the culture. We talked about team types and what types each one of us were and what the implications of that was for their role in a team in problem-solving situation and the Z model of problem-solving as it relates to different types. Week 7 was my special technical expertise in change management, how you manage and lead change. We talked about the change curve. We talked about the engagement to change, the stakeholder management, the narrative of change, how you get people on board, how you deal with fear, how you make sure people help you be successful in change. Week 8, we talked about responsible leadership. We talked about authenticity. We talked about ethics. We talked about the values the leader brings. We talked about leadership with a purpose. Week 9, we talked about the generational differences, how the generations are now changing the dynamic of what good leadership looks like. And also the fact that with aging, certain needs in human beings change anyway. Shared a lot of statistics and information about different ways of thinking about generations and the fact that this is no different to all the other elements of diversity, that you still need to get the best from all the different age groups and generations that you have in your team. And that's never going to change. We're always going to have multiple different age groups working with us. Last week, we talked about the future. We looked into the mega trends. We talked about the increased challenges that are coming based on the trends that we looked at and what that means for leadership going forward. So you can see the pattern of building an awareness and understanding of what's needed and what good looks like. And so for today, we're going to say, what does that mean to you and your career as a future global leader? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And how do you want to get there? Now, remember, end of last week, we did the flight to your future. Your future global success is already there. It's already happened. It's already in that timeline. The plan is how to get there. The various steps you need to take. Now, here's the thing about the plan. People think of plans often as, right, A, B, C, D, and away we go. Or in terms of a map, we're here, we need to be there. Here's the quickest and easiest route. In a career, for me, it's often not a straight line. I want you to imagine it as a building block. And you're building foundations. And each time you have an experience, you do a project, you do a job, you have a learning, you're putting a brick to build up the career tower. And you're finding the bricks that fit your needs to get you to where you want to go. But the bricks don't come in a format that's right, now's the time for this brick or now's the time for that. No, no, no. Different opportunities come at different times. And you need to learn and understand which ones are the priority that you need to capture and use, and which ones maybe you say no to or not yet. And we'll talk about that going forward. Is that okay, everyone, so far? So let's move on. The first thing is, there are things that may be already hurting your career or could be hurting your career. My opinion is that often lack of direction is one of the key ones. Because if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up somewhere else. And the number two, and we've talked about this again and again, is often not being honest with yourself, not learning about yourself, telling yourself lies. There are a lot of people that are working very hard, but they're confusing hard work with performance and confusing performance with potential. We've talked about that as well. This is not a journey you want to make alone. You have to have many people helping you understanding who they are and what everyone contributes is key. You need to understand how you create value for yourself and others and how you stretch that capability. You need to create yourself as a valuable person to have in any situation, with any team. Your network is absolutely key. It is a major asset you bring. There's no doubt in my mind that this need's gonna grow. And how do you pitch properly? How do you pitch yourself as a product? How do you actually pitch your ideas right? How do you inspire? How you make sure that you're learning all the time about the context in which you're going to lead, about the business need. And you maintain those networks through regular connectivity. You understand your value in the market, and you understand the correct expectations you should have of your career. To be consistent, sincere, and authentic, and acting as you say we will. To really understand the realities of the politics, of the realities of the world we're dealing with. It's not fair, it's not correct, but not to become a victim. And to have people that actively promote you, actively say good things about you. There's nothing more powerful than that. We will be touching every one of these things in this session going forward. But let's start at the beginning. So the first question I asked you on session 1 was, why do you want to be a global leader? What exactly is it that drives you? And here's a set of questions that I've posed. What is it you enjoy doing? Why do you enjoy those things? Because normally we are good at things we enjoy, and we are bad at things we don't like doing. Now, there are those odd individuals, very, very rare and odd, who are good at things they don't enjoy. But that is a rarity. 99.999% of the time, we are good at what we enjoy. And life is too short. They say that if you do what you, work that you enjoy, that means you never do a day's work in your life. Now, not every aspect of your job is going to be equally pleasant or equally enjoyable, but overall, are you enjoying things? Ask yourself that question. What do I enjoy? Why do I enjoy these things? What is my strength? We are also defined by our opposite. What is it I don't enjoy? What is it I'm not good at? How do I make sure that I'm happy and I avoid being sad? A lot of these things relate to the model on the right-hand side, the iceberg model. What we see is what's visible to everybody above the surface. But what's below it is your core self. What are the values that you have, which are given to you by your family, by your teachers, by your managers, by the culture and the country you live in? How does that relate to your self-image? And then at the very base, on your motives, are things that are driving you that maybe you're not even aware of. They're your subconscious. And as we go through a journey of life and we get exposed to lots of different experiences, we get to have self-knowledge. We get to understand each other more, ourselves more. And to really understand, really what is making me happy, what is driving me is this. Is what is your bliss? What makes you happy? Follow that. In growing, knowing how you learn. We talked about that in the first session as well. And we're going to talk about it at the end today, because that's absolutely key. And then having clear goals, because unless you do something about things, then so what? Like I started the discussion with. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a piece of paper now. And I want to look at these 9 factors. And I want you to write the top 3 or 4 max in priority order about why you want to be a leader. Just do that for a second. I mean, these slides are available, so you could even just put the numbers down. number 4, number 3, number 2, whatever it might be. Now look at that list and tell me which one of these drivers are the key to you, that motivate you to do things, that make you happy. Be honest. There is often a mismatch for a lot of people between what they're told there should be their values and also what their motives are. It does depend, yeah. I mean, situations change, people change, but if you want to tell me what it depends on, I'm very happy to hear. And it changes over time. It changes in different situations, but in your core, there is 1 or 2 elements that are the key, that are the higher priority. I mean, they're all important to all of us, but there is a priority. And if there's a mismatch between what you're told you should be valuing and what you actually are being driven by, you waste a lot of energy. And it's always better to be honest with yourself and say, honestly, I'm driven by status. Just being honest means your awareness means you can control to make sure that it doesn't scupper your situation, that doesn't cause a problem. But not being aware of it yourself, which most people are not, because most people's view of themselves is through other people's eyes. We see each other, see ourselves through other people's eyes, is not accurate. It should be as accurate as possible. And we should be as honest with ourselves as possible. We all have these. It's all good. Be honest. So please do that. Just rank these things for yourself again. And again, you don't need to rank all of them. Just the top 3 or top 4 would be fine. Remember, all of these are part of the process we're going to go through now, and it's for you. But I also want to say to you that the reality of, I don't know why these people aren't dancing. Hang on a minute. Let me share again the screen. Because I set this up so that the old people would be dancing. There you go. Now they're dancing. Can you see it now? Just one person tell me you can see them dancing. Anyone, just tell me you can see it. Excellent. Thank you so much. Oh no, he stopped. Every time I go to the chat, they stop dancing. Anyway, the reality is our happiness is not a static thing. Exactly as you said, it depends. And it depends on your expectations. If what you've achieved is more than what you wanted or expected, you'll be happy. If you wanted and expected is more than what you actually achieve, you'd be unhappy. So ask yourself, exactly what is it I want and expect? Because to set yourself unrealistic goals or goals that are not necessary is a route for unhappiness. Now, here's the thing about happiness. We're not an island. We don't live in isolation. If you're a happy person, if you're a content person, if your subconscious and your conscious self have shaken hands together and are friends and you're comfortable in your own skin, many other people outside will sense that and will want to be with you and to follow you. If there are too many demons in your system, too much, let's say, contradictions in what's driving you and what you're achieving and what you are and what you want, that has an impact on you as a leader going forward. So the first person you need to lead is you. What is it I want? How realistic is it? Am I making it? That's it. So let's talk about what is the normal things we say to young people. I've heard it all my life. Let me know if you've heard something different to this. First thing we say to people is, you've got to work hard. Sacrifice now for better future. Save. My parents used to tell me, you've got to save, save, save. And I never saved enough money as far as my parents were concerned. Still don't save as much as my parents. My mom thinks I should. Because you've got to focus on the future, not on the present. They say, we have more experience. We've been here before. Listen to us. Do what we tell you. Whether you listen to your manager and leader, whether you listen to your teacher, whether you listen to your parents. By God, I'm doing that to you right now. Saying, listen to me. I might know something that might help you. Always do your best and be honest. I mean, my God, when we talk about authenticity, sincerity for leadership, we're saying this all the time. Play fair. Follow the rules. You know, you've got to be following the rules in spirit and in process. And if we all play fair, then everybody will be okay. Be open to feedback. Work on your weaknesses. This is the one I hate the most. We all have weaknesses. The amount of time and effort it takes for you to fix your weaknesses are ridiculously high energy. And frankly, you can make your weaknesses at best average. You're never going to be defined by them. You could be defined by them if those weaknesses make you crash on your face, but you're not going to be defined in terms of that's what makes you better and unique and different. Have clear goals, plan each step carefully, avoid all risk. As you get older, you become less risk taker, more risk averse, and you pass that on to the younger people you're advising. The assumption of all of this is that the world is fair, and that if you're a good person and you do a good job and with sincerity and authenticity, then you will get your just desert. But we know that's not the case. We know the world is not fair. Excuse me. We know that it takes more than this. I want to talk to you today about no theory. I have no theory to share. I want to talk to you about real life. I want to talk to you about the unfairness of the world and how to be a winner in that reality. So most companies look at someone joining in this perspective. There's a life cycle. They recruit you based on their brand. You go through this recruitment process, assessment, then they induct you. They put you into a role within the structure. They measure how you're doing. They performance manage you to bring value. They give you feedback. If you're lucky, some coaching, some development, they move you and then you exit. You either leave because you're retiring, or you leave because it didn't work out, or you leave because you got a better job or whatever. You go through this. And you go through this in the context of the culture that you've joined and the leadership that makes this reality. Like I said, people leave leaders, not companies, because that leader represents the company to you. And once you're a global leader, that's what you're doing. You're representing that brand with your own leadership brand. But something goes wrong here. And this is what goes wrong. I came across this working with a lady called Wendy Hirsch in Vodafone, where we were developing a career framework for Vodafone. And she showed me this slide. And I know it's complicated, but I really think it shifted my thinking about what's going on here. And I want to use that to help you look at it from the two different ways of thinking, the employee and the company, and the psychological contract that's implied in the relationship. So you got the company, and the company has a vision and a strategy. And normally that is looking 3 to 5 years ahead, sometimes 10. And they develop that into plans. And again, most companies don't plan more than 3 years ahead, and the detailed plan 1 year ahead at most. And within that, they have priorities. And those priorities fall into a plan for their people. How many we're going to need, where they're going to be, who's in the succession, who we're going to invest in, what vacancies we got coming, who's going to get the job moves. And this is designed to close the gap between where the company sees they are now and where they want to be based on their strategy in 3 years. And they own that information. And it's all driven by the business needs and business perspective. But do they share that with the employees? No. They have things like salary surveys. Do they share that with the employees? No. Now, I've been HR director. I didn't share it either. Why didn't I share it? Well, because everybody who will look at that will want to be on the top of the scale. And most companies, if you're lucky, put you at 50% of the norm. Nobody values themselves in the bottom as an employee. Everybody thinks of them as the top. And what you do as an HR director is you say, okay, some people are above the line, some people are below the line, but on average, we're okay. And not everyone's going to be on the same salary because we didn't recruit them with the same salary. And if you share the information, everybody's going to want to come up to the minimum, and they will think they will be demotivated by things being offered. So there's some real reasons why you're not sharing all that information, which would help manage people's expectations. On the other side, you got the employee, and the employee have their own idea about what drives them, what is their career expectation. They have their own development plan. They know where they want to end up and hopefully how they go. And they have a sense of personal value, which, as I said, is always in the top 10% of the market. You will always find people looking at job adverts that are similar jobs to what they're doing, and they will always only remember the most expensive, well-paid jobs, and they'll value themselves at that. Now, this individual has this personal information and what they want to do, what their career is, but they don't trust the employer to share it with them. Oh, I'm going to leave now, or I'm going to leave in a year. Oh, if you're going to leave in a year, I'm not going to invest in you. So that sharing of the information in personal development reviews doesn't happen. And the employee's perspective about how things work here, as I've said to you before, is based on the experience from the last 3 years. So you got the company looking at their strategy 3 to 5 years ahead. You got the employee expectation of the company being based on the last 3 to 5 years. So the gap in expectation is 6 to 10 years. Now, when you look at the pace of change in the market that we talked about during these sessions, have you got any idea how the context is changing when you look at a gap of 6 to 10 years? And therefore, the psychological contract is constantly being broken. And this is the big divide that's becoming wider and wider, with the company wanting to exploit the people that it has and get the best value out of them, and the people wanting the same from the company. And sometimes if you share the most information that you can, and you develop that trust that openness, you can create a win-win. But most of the times you don't. And there's a mismatch. And therefore you, as an individual, need to take responsibility for your own career, for your own development. And you use the company to get whatever help you can, but you don't rely just on the company. In the old days, that's what they used to think. I'm going to rely on the company. They will look after me. They will advise me. I will listen to them. Nowadays, in most companies, you have to take responsibility for your own development. So how do you do that? What I'd like to propose to you is that there's 2 separate strategies for career. One is a sales approach. I want this job. I'm going to go after it, and I'm going to sell myself, and hopefully they'll buy. I'm going to send thousands of applications. I'm going to push, like a classic sales approach. Follow up, network, and I will get it. The thing about sales is that the person selling is in a weak power position, and the person buying has the power. And therefore, if that's your strategy, the chances are you will need to pay a higher price than the price you will extract from the company, and you will be on the back foot. What I'm going to propose to you is a longer term strategy, which is about you marketing yourself. And marketing is about setting the scene, getting the synergies between you and the market right, promoting yourself in the right way, and waiting for them to come to you to buy, with the power sitting with you. I will say this to you, power comes from options. The more options you have, the more power you have. The more choices, like I have lots of different offers of work, so you can choose which brick will fit in to my fastest rise to where I want to go. I want you to have that choice. That's why I'm promoting the marketing approach. Now, this is very old now, but it's still valuable in my opinion. I'm talking about the 4 Ps. Anyone who's been in marketing would have had exposure to this before. And I think some of the best ideas are when you take an idea from one sector and apply it to another, like we did with the investment model from the Boston investment model that we apply to employees and to the people to see where we put our time and resources. I'm saying the same thing here. We use the 4 Ps. So I want you to imagine yourself as a product. I want you to then think about which market, which place this product would be best suited for. What is the price for this product and how we promote it. And that's what I want us to go through today, and for you to fill out the templates that I have shared with you as we go along, so that you end up at the end of this session with a plan for yourself that you could change, modify, improve, but at least have that. Is that okay? Everyone clear so far? Okay, so we go step by step. First step, product. So if you look at an individual as a product, I want to give some example. You got Arnold Schwarzenegger, bodybuilder. He became governor of California. You look at singer, Bono, an advocate for the climate. A boxer, Muhammad Ali. Really, you can define your product based on how you promote your talent. And I want you to think of it in these circles. There is a core element to you as a product. Every time someone interacts with you, they feel it, they know it. This is what this product does every time, reliably to the high quality. There's certain other things this product can also do, but is not the most obvious thing that first comes to mind. And then what's the quality of this product? What's the brand of this product? What makes this product different to the other products? And also, what isn't this product, which defines you just as clearly as what you are. We can use an example. If you are as a product are a hammer, your core is you can use force to move things into where they need to be. That's your core. Every time you use a hammer, you know the hammer can bash things in. Growing your product means actually, if you turn the hammer around, most of them have the ability for you to pull things out. It's not the first thing that comes to mind when you think about a hammer, but it's also what the hammer can do. And then you say, but my hammer has the best steel, has a great balance, has a great handle, very comfortable and very long lasting. It's also waterproof and doesn't rust. It is one of the best hammers you can have. Or this is a heavier hammer for a really heavy job. It's a sledgehammer. But what it's not a screwdriver. If you need to screw things, don't use a hammer. That's not what I am. This is my sense of how we develop our products. For you to do that as a product, you need to start thinking about what's true about me. What is it that I've done well throughout my life? What's my natural aptitude? What's my natural talent? How do I make it world class? How do I make sure that people can see that what I do in terms of this capability, this skill, is great and is reliable and happens every time? And then you invest in it. You make something that's good the best. And every single time you make it better and better and better, or you make more impact from it. So here's what I think are things that, irrespective of who you are, these things are going to be important, unfortunately, and you need to develop, because this is what the future world will require. First is communication. It doesn't matter what other skills you have. There's certain things that are core, and communication is one of them. How you get your message across, how you listen, how you show empathy once you've listened, how you do it in writing, how you do it face-to-face, how you do it over Zoom, how you do it at a distance, how you do it close by, how you do it in a formal presentation, how do you do it in an informal situation. All of it. You got to be good at it, and you got to inspire people to want to have you communicate with them more. Teamwork. We've said this. There's almost nothing in this world that doesn't require teamwork. That's absolutely the key nowadays. And you got to engage people, and you got to be able to run the team in the right way, depending on the needs of the project and the people. We've talked about that already. And lastly, the world is becoming complex. You have to be able to break it down and make it simple for the other people. That's a core requirement of a global leader. These core capabilities are ones we have to improve all the time, because that's the future. So how you do that is you stay informed about yourself, about the situation. You develop yourself as a product all the time. You prefer proof points. If someone says you're good at this, okay, and here are 3 examples of the best examples of me showing how good I am at this particular thing. The best examples are ones that are very recent, the ones that had high impact, and the ones that maybe fit the needs of the person who's asking. So if they were in a particular sector, in a particular country, in a particular situation, the examples that are closest to that would be the best ones. And then your stretch capability. By the way, I can also pull things out. By the way, I can also do these other things. Maybe it's not the thing I'm most famous for, what I'm known for, but it's what I can do, so that people know those capabilities exist and can use it. And you continuously increase those by upskilling yourself and meeting your potential. And then finally, you have to manage your brand. That's a deliberate thing. You create it. Here are some of the words we often use to consider our strength and our talent. I'm just putting them there as an example. I'm adaptable, I'm articulate, I'm artistic, I'm athletic, I'm whatever it is. But those would become part of your brand value proposition. And equally, the things that you don't want to be part of your proposition, or you want to be aware of. If this is what you are, be aware of them and make sure they don't define you. These are all in the deck that I've already put on Minerva. So, you've got all this access to all of these things as reference. So what I'd like you to do is to take the template now and write down the top skill and capability that define you now, that you have, that everybody can say, yes, this person has this. These skills could be technical skills, qualifications, knowledge. And then I also want you to write down 3 behavior and characteristics that are you as a personality. And then the last thing is the 3 things that are attributes. I have experience of this particular industry. I've lived in this country. It could be, this is how tall I am, or strong I am, or whatever it is, attributes that define you. Just take a few minutes to write these things down. Remember, this is just for you. No one's going to see it. And, you can always change them later if you want to. Very important to be honest here. Use things that are unique to you and that differentiate you. Why would someone choose you versus someone else? What makes you different? It's what I call the USP, unique selling proposition. What makes this product the one to choose? Okay, let's move on. So you can always go and improve or fill this as you go along, but I'd like to move at a pace because we've got 9 exercises to go through. So it's important for us to make sure that, you know, we move together. So step 2 is you want to grow your product, create that stretch. How do you do that? So the first thing is that you constantly have to look for new experiences where you can learn and you can show your capability. You know, that for me is important in testing yourself and in creating that stretch. And every time you do that, you learn more about yourself. There are opportunities for growth. You got to take it as often as you can, as much as possible. And those opportunities are always going to be there. But as you're younger, you have more opportunities. You can afford to take bigger risks right now than later on in life. It's a general truth that as you become more senior, you have more to lose. As your life becomes more settled and more set in a particular way, whether you have family, whether you have children, whatever, and in the future, then you're not dependent just on yourself. You have other things to consider, and therefore you will be likely to take less risk. And it happens with older people, they take less risk. So take your bigger risks early. You have less to lose. You have more to win. It's a better ratio. Whenever I used to interview people, I always used to ask them, so what was the last big mistake you made? I never asked that because I actually wanted to know what the mistake was. I asked that because I wanted to know whether this person was completely focused as a confident person on the future. We're all human beings. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and we all make mistakes. If you're not making a mistake, it means you're not trying. It means you haven't gone there to do something risky. If you're doing something difficult, complex, with a lot of uncertainty, the chances are you're not going to be getting it right 100% all the time. If you're getting 100% all the time, that means you're not stretching yourself. I'm working hard enough. So the question is not whether we make mistakes. The question is, what is our attitude to that mistake? When you're defending, blaming, making excuses for your mistakes, you're wasting energy. That mistakes happened. It's history. The only value left in it now is what did you learn from it? So when I asked someone, did you make a mistake? And instead of them making up, yeah, well, you know, what are your weaknesses? Oh, my weakness is that I'm too diligent. I'm too honorable. I'm too hardworking. I'm too much of a perfectionist. I say to myself, well, this person is talking rubbish to me. This person is coming up with the strength as if it was a weakness. Is putting a mistake, which wasn't really a mistake, which wasn't really their mistake. The reality is we all make mistakes. The fact is, you need to say, okay, yes, I made this mistake. This was what happened. This was the reason why it happened. This is what I learned. And this is what I did to fix it. And this is what I'm going to do better next time. And that is a great answer. And if anyone in an interview asks you this, know this. They're looking to see whether you're open and transparent and whether you have self-knowledge, how confident you are in admitting that you made a mistake. But what you did about it, what you learned about it is important. Now, most people who don't admit their mistakes is because there's still emotional connection to that mistake. They're still feeling bad about it. I will tell you, if you've taken all the learning from that mistake, the emotion leaves. So if there's still emotion lingering, it means you haven't got closure and you haven't got over that, and you haven't got all the value you need to take from the mistakes. So you need to continuously look at yourself, look at other people, and become better at managing and adapting to that change through having the option of how you want to react. That's called emotional intelligence. And the thing that people talk about the most right now is this thing called grit. You need to be tough. You need to be resilient. You mustn't give up. You must have thick skin. And you have to plow on until you succeed. Now, here's the thing. Remember what we said about change. If you choose to do something tough, there's no stress. If someone does it to you and you don't have any control, there's stress. So you need to be on the front foot. You need to choose the challenge. You need to go for the challenge because you choose it, not because it's imposed on you. If there's a house on fire and you choose to run in to rescue a baby that's been left in there, that's you. If you are in that house when someone set fire or there's fire and you're burning, there's no heroism in there. So choose to take on tough challenges. Choose to stay with it till you're successful. And this is how we learn about ourselves. This is how we look beyond the narrow experience. Remember what I always say, you can have 10 years experience, which is 1 year's experience 10 times, or you can have 10 years of different experiences. You need to learn to manage with ambiguity. One of my favorite things from Confucius is, learning to change that which you can change, accept what you cannot change, and have the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Now, I can't say I'm good at this. I find it very difficult to accept things that I can't change, and that creates frustration in me. But I'm learning and I'm improving. And we have to learn to deal with ambiguity. It's just going to increase. We've talked about this. The illusion of control is gone. And we always have to find new ways to learn, whatever generation we're in. And these are stretch capabilities. So I want you to now do the second part of the exercise, exercise 2. 3 skills that you have, but people don't know about it. You're not using it enough, or you're not showing it enough. And 3 new skills and capabilities you want to get soon. This is not something you want to do 10, 20 years now. These are things that you could learn in the next 2 years, 3 years max. That new capabilities that you want to have to make your value bigger, to make your product a more valuable product. That's the first. And then equally, 3 skills you don't have and you don't want, 3 characteristics about you that are never going to be you, and 3 experiences you don't want to have. So take a few minutes to just fill those things in. Again, be honest, brutally honest. This is the only way. Are we okay to move on? Let me know if you need more time. I will wait for you. Thank you. I will. Excellent. So, brands. We've talked about brands before. The truth is, people make decisions based on brands. Very few people go and read the technical specifications of a product. So look at that in terms of, for example, your CV. Your CV is your brochure for your brand. We fill it with technical specifications, but actually it's a marketing document. I don't know if I remember talking to you about, for example, a company like Aston Martin, voted the coolest brand in the world 5 years running, cooler than Apple. That company's never made money in over 100-year history. Look at, companies like SpaceX or whatever. They've never made money. Look at Facebook. If you look at the commercial financial elements of Facebook, it's not that strong. But the brand is driving the share value. So I want you to think about your brand for your product. And the examples I've put here are things like, I don't know whether you're aware of these people, but I mean, someone like Trump, frankly, from a quality point of view of his ability to do anything, you can't say that he's any way exceptional human being. But as a brand, he's got amazing traction. That lady in the top right-hand corner, Kim Kardashian, the clear thing that people always say about her is, why is she famous? What's her talent? Is she a dancer? Is she a singer? Is she a scientist? What does she do? Her skill is managing her brand. Sometimes people say her mother's skill is helping her manage her brand. Doesn't matter. That whole family's skill is how they promote themselves. And so these are examples of what is driving decisions. Now, I have a really difficult example I want to share with you, an emotional one, but it illustrates the point. You have a terrible thing that happens that lives in the psyche of the people around the world, which was the planes hitting those buildings on 9/11. And this creates an emotional reaction, because brands are emotional. And as a result of that, America invades Iraq. Now, up to now, and it's been in many, many years, no one has ever said or proven that there was any link between Iraq and the event of 9/11. But it created that emphasis and it created that action, which was incredible. So you need to manage the brand. The brand and the emotional connectivity is what drives behavior. It is our reality. It's not about fairness. It's not technical. And remember what I said back about the CV. You've got CVs and they're full of technical stuff. But the CV is your brochure, is your brand. What's its purpose? To open the door for you. So really, we need to start thinking about brands in this way. And your brand, what is it that you want to have? We often try to ignore politics and what's going on in the world. That's not a reality. Politics is real. It happens. You need to be aware of it. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. You need to be very clear about how you want to be perceived and what you want your brand to be versus what it actually is. And who can you trust to tell you the real sense of what people are really thinking about you, what people are really saying about you? How do you check that? Is it changing? Have you made the modifications that you wanted to so that you want to, you get to be perceived how you wanted to be perceived? Are your strategies working? And so these developments is around how you manage your persona, how you network to make sure that brand is out there and that brand is what you want it to be. Now, Graham would know this. Welcome, Graham. Thanks for joining us. But I remember having a conversation with one of our old bosses that Graham would know, Paul Donovan. And I asked Paul for his opinion about, and he was chief operating officer for Vodafone, of what is the things, what are the 2 rules that he would set for anyone if they want to be successful in their future career. And these are the rules that I've replicated here. They're not my ideas, but I agree with them. They're directly from Paul Donovan. The first thing he said was, never take a job where people are gonna say, oh, this guy didn't know, or this lady didn't know what the hell they were doing. You need to pick up a job that plays to your strength so that you could show off your capability. And secondly, you need to take a job that's quite central to the success of the organization so that you and what you do matters and you get visibility. If you follow these 2 basic rules, your career will be fine. And I can't fault this. I mean, I'm sure Graham might have an opinion about this, but these are great rules for how you manage your brand going forward in an organization. From somebody who I thought had been quite successful in managing his brand and his career to that point. So I'll stop there at that point. Thank you very much for joining us again, Graham. Really appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. I really do. So the time you're giving is very much appreciated. And you can see our colleagues are online. It's late into the evening for them in China. And, so there's a bit of entertaining to do as well to make sure that they're not feeling too tired while they're with us.
Cool. Well, thanks, Masood, and thanks everyone for so late at night. I must admit, about midnight for you, joining to listen to me. Now, Masood was just talking about something held from a former colleague of ours, Paul Donovan. It actually reminds me of something that Vittorio Colau, who was the chief executive officer of Vodafone, said to me when I left Vodafone to go and work for MTS in Russia. And his 2 rules for success, it seems everyone has got 2 rules of success, but his 2 rules of success were, first of all, Graham, when you get to Russia, make sure within your team there are at least 2 people working for you whose success is completely tied to your own success. Yeah, and I think what I took away from that is as you move around the world, as you do international careers and so on, you will find yourself being put in charge of new teams. And it's important that you either quickly identify or you recruit at least a couple of people that you know you can trust and rely on. Because without a couple of people in the organization that, if you like, are on your side, you're going to really struggle to have an impact. So that was one rule. And the other rule that Vittorio had was, which is very similar to Paul Donovan's rule about sort of getting something, doing something that aligns to the organization's success. Vittorio was even simpler than that. He said, make sure that you're known for having done something within the first 6 months. Again, I think that's a sort of very good rule. If you join a new organization, make sure that after you've been there for 6 months, when someone mutters your name, they can say, oh yes, he or she was the person that did ... And it almost doesn't matter what the ... is. As long as it's something that's kind of seen as positive in the organization. Because when you're a new joiner to an organization, for the first for a first month or 2, people will give you the benefit of the doubt, and they'll kind of say, right, it's the honeymoon period, people are sort of settling in. But after about 6 months, people are starting to make up their minds on you, and they'll make up their minds based on what they think, what they perceive you're done, which I think plays into the point Masood's making about how important brand is. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting, Graham, because Anna Capitano, while I was in Italy with Vittorio, said that same thing to me with a slight twist. And the twist was, you're only as good as something big you've done in the last 6 months. So
Yeah.
yes, you need to make that splash, but then even after that, your brand can only stay because of something significant that was done that the organization became aware of in the last 6 months. You have to keep it going.
It's true. Masood's absolutely right. So look, Masood's asked me to talk a little bit about my experience being an international manager, and maybe I can start, folks, by introducing myself. Graham Miller, I have been in the mobile industry for about 30 years. And over my life, I've lived and worked in 8 countries around the world. So various places in the UK, England, Scotland, Jersey, but also I've lived and worked in America, in Hungary, in Holland, and in Russia as well. And I think that's given me a lot of experience, and much of the experience is what not to do as much as what to do. I'm a great believer that actually we often learn the most from mistakes we make. It's certainly been the case in my case. So you know, what have I learned in that period of time? Well, perhaps one of the most painful lessons I learned was the importance of culture to when you're living in a place. And I think the way to think about this is, if you are flying in for a few business meetings for a week or so, then in my opinion, around the world, people are very accepting of difference. And if you're there for a few days or a week, people will accept that you don't understand local culture, and we don't necessarily know the kind of way you're expected to behave, and that's pretty cool. If you actually move to a place like I did, I mean, each time I moved, I went with my spouse, I went with my family. So if you go, you move with your partner, with your family, and you go to live somewhere, within about a month or two, local people expect you to understand what the local customs and traditions and way of doing things is, and they expect you to conform. And if you don't, then it begins to be sort of seen a little bit as an insult. So, you know, the first thing I would say, and the lesson I learned very hard when I went to Holland, and actually something Masood helped me with there, was, you know, before you go somewhere, put yourself on a bit of cultural training, understand yourself and understand the culture that you're going into and where you're going to have some difficulty. And I'd like to raise a couple of aspects of kind of culture that's different across the world. One thing that's very different is the way that we deal with time. In some cultures, it is absolutely forbidden to be late, and it's seen as a huge insult. At the other end of the scale, some cultures are very relaxed about time, and you know, if you turn up on the right day, it's seen as being early almost for a meeting. Yeah, so there's a wide variation on culturally as you move from one place to another on how people regard time. Another aspect is a lot to do with hierarchy. Some cultures are very hierarchical, others are kind of very, very flat. And this all plays into the situation kind of when you come to work. So, you know, in my case, I spent some time working with Masood actually in Holland, and then I moved to Russia. And for me, I probably couldn't have chosen two more extreme cultures. The Dutch were very respectful of each other's time, so time was very important. It was important to be on time for meetings, and they were a very flat culture. Really, hierarchy didn't mean anything. In Russia, no one cared about time, and you probably couldn't have found a more authoritarian kind of hierarchical place to be. Now, that was interesting for me because in reality, as a person and in terms of my kind of management style, I'm probably somewhere in between the two extremes. And so when I went to the Netherlands, even with the training that Masood arranged for me, I kind of failed massively in that the people that worked for me basically thought I was really hard as nails. They thought I was a very tough, aggressive manager that they didn't like working for. And that was me understanding how I was naturally and trying to move the way I behaved and the face that I presented to my colleagues in the Netherlands to be closer to what was the cultural norm there at work. I then moved from there to Russia. I took some cultural training. I learned that the Russians expect kind of tough, hard leaders. I tried to toughen myself up. I thought this will be easy. The Dutch thought I was too soft. It's going to be easy to be play the hard man. No, as far as the Russians were concerned, I was soft as shit. Pardon my English, everyone, but I was seen as very, very kind of soft. And let me just use one little anecdote from Russia that I think kind of proves the point. I remember going to a meeting with my boss, who was the CEO of the business, MTS, the largest mobile carrier in Russia. And it started at 4 o'clock. And as is the way in some of these hierarchical cultures, it was a very large meeting. He had 10 people there, and each of us took 2 or 3 people to support us. So there were about 40 people waiting for this meeting. It was supposed to start at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock became 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The meeting didn't start till 10 o'clock. My boss made 40 people wait for 6 hours before he walked into the room. And by doing that, he was really demonstrating his power and authority over us, because actually people sort of sat by meekly like sheep waiting for him to come in. I was going to say the smarter of us got to know his secretary quite well and basically said, we're going out for a meal, give us a call if there's any sign of him coming into the meeting so we can sneak back in. So my 6 hours wasn't completely wasted. I did manage to get my evening meal sort of squeezed in, holding my mobile phone, waiting for the call from his secretary to run back to the office urgently. So culture is very important and something to think about and something to prepare before you go to live in a place. I think the second thing that I've learned is I'm a very poor linguist, and I'm going to say today, thank you. You know, you're all doing me an immense honor, because I'm speaking in my mother tongue and you're listening to me in a second language. And I really appreciate the respect that shows me. Now, as I've moved to different countries in the world, I've tried to show people the same respect, and I've tried to learn Hungarian, Dutch, Russian, French, American, and I failed miserably at every one. I'm afraid I'm an engineer and my brain is really programmed for learning language. But one of the things that I've learned from that is you do learn a lot about kind of a culture from language and from the idioms that different languages use. So, you know, I would say, you know, you will find in your business life as you walk around the world that fortunately from English mother tongue speakers and people like yourselves that speak English well as a second language, that English is the most spoken second language in the world, and you will do a lot of business around the world in that language. Nevertheless, I would recommend when you go on assignments in different countries, make sure that you that you do go and take some local language lessons, because as I say, I mean, it connects you with the local people. Some of the best friends I've ever made have been my local kind of language teachers, and you find out what's important in a country from the language. It's not for nothing that the joke that the Eskimos, the folks in the north of the world, have 50 words for the word snow. You know, this is true, and as you go around and you learn this about different countries, you learn something of the culture and the people, and I think that helps you be a better manager, be a better negotiator, be better at your job in those places. By the way, for the same reason, I've always traveled and gone and lived in different countries with my partner, with my wife and my children. Again, I think that connection with the kind of the local place you're living in is really important to help you get to understand the business you're doing, understand the people you're doing business with, and get the best done. Anyway, listen, there's a couple of anecdotes there, and I usually time myself, but I forgot to turn on the timer. But at this point, Masood knows I can go on for hours talking about some of these experiences.
Very valuable lessons.
I'll pause for a minute and see if there are any questions or anywhere yourself and Masood wants me to go before I kind of rattle off on some more anecdotes.
Any questions, team?
I think maybe everyone's fallen asleep, Masood. It's a bit too late.
No. I'm sure. No, they haven't. I know they haven't. Graham, I wanted to share. Thank you very much for the comment. I want to share a couple of things that I want to highlight as key to successful global leadership, especially going into the future. One of the things that I've always appreciated about you, and I thought is a great lesson for global leadership, is what you've demonstrated today as well, is humility. Is being open to you as a human being, saying, I mean, I'm just saying that to the team about, I've made mistakes, I'm a human being, whatever. That's number one. Second thing is your loyalty to your team and the fact that the team rely on you and believe in you, that consistently you've got their backs and you're interested in their well-being, in the win-win and the alignment as you go along. And I think you mentioned that as well. We've discussed that in our debates in the past about quality of leadership and responsible leadership. And I think without that humility, you can forget about the rest, because the learning won't take place about the culture, about the language, about whatever else. You got to have that humility. Otherwise, you won't have a listening attitude. You won't pick it up. And I think that is a great lesson that you can bring to this team for global leadership. And also the thing around the team orientation and the team win. So let's see if there's another question.
Maybe while we're waiting for questions, Masood, just on those sort of 2 points, I think on the humility point, I'm going to say Masood is right to an extent, but there are some cultures where it's not appropriate. So actually, Masood's right, it's how I am. And actually, for me personally, inside, that being humble, or the way I would actually describe it, rather than humility, is the ability to laugh at yourself. Yeah. The ability to kind of see the joke and sometimes see that what's going on, seen from, it's the ability, I think, to look at the situation as if you were a third party looking down. Exactly. And see sometimes the comedy in what's going on. Yeah. And that's kind of how I am. But actually, if I use my example in Russia, to be humble would be seen to be weak. Yeah. So there is a kind of local context that you have to put on things. And I agree with Masood that in a lot of cultures, particularly in the West, and certainly the Dutch appreciated humility. The Americans a bit, slightly less so. I would say the Russians not at all. But it is a part of what I am, and I agree with Masood. And I, as I say, I would encourage you all to retain the sense of fun and humor and the ability to kind of laugh at yourself.
What we've been talking about is the Achilles heel of some big companies, and I would include Vodafone in that, was success. That when you become successful and you think, okay, that's all down to me, you fail to meet your potential. You fail then at, it's what Jim Collins says about good is the enemy of great. Bad is not the enemy of great. Good is the enemy of great. And how in the same way, as a leader, when you're really successful, when you've really made it to the top, the Achilles heel is to stop listening and to stop questioning yourself.
It's a good example, and maybe I can use an example from my own life about that I've seen. So in the 1990s, I worked for Motorola, Motorola at the time was the world's most successful manufacturer of mobile phones. In the first year of GSM, they did 80% of the global production of GSM. They were an American success story. They had factories in the States, in Europe, and indeed they opened a factory in Tianjin in China. And they were hugely successful. And a bit like other companies and everything you can mention, like Kodak, you know, an example of an American success story that suddenly kind of lost its way and failed in the 2000s. And what went wrong? Well, I was in the company and I saw exactly what Masood's talking about, a huge arrogance in a way that the opposite of humility. And, you know, we got to sort of 94, 95. We were supposed to be making $15 million a month of profit in Europe. We were making 50. So we were making over 3 times per month. And the reason we were making it was because the market was growing incredibly. You know, when I joined Motorola in 1990, 1 in 100 people had a mobile phone. By the year 2000, 90 in 100 people. And what managers in the company failed to recognize was they failed to recognize that they were being successful because they had been lucky enough to be in a booming market, rather than they were successful because of anything they were doing. And in actual fact, what they were missing as Motorola was they were missing a catastrophic fall in market share, even as volumes were going up. So, I mean, actually, it's not a particularly amusing anecdote, but I think one thing that I try and guard against is if you ever get to the state where you think, I'm a great manager, this is going well, I've really got this sorted, be a little bit paranoid. Ask yourself, what am I not seeing in this picture? Even if my sales are great, am I losing market share? I just, you know, and maybe kind of find some other factors to put your success down to other than your own brilliance. So hopefully, Masood, that sort of backs up what you're saying about
absolutely,
humility.
and exactly like you, you know, we all have this same challenge. In my last few years in Ocean Coca-Cola, I had it all sewn up and it was all going amazingly well. And I thought, you know, and you know, I think they say that biological organisms have 2 states. You're either growing or you're dying. And once you're complacent and you sit down and think, look, I've got the team I want, my boss appreciates me, the shareholders appreciate me, you become complacent and you stop growing. And actually the situation since has made me a better person, has helped me grow again, which maybe anyway, so we all go through that personal journey, Graham. And, you know, humility is a very important factor in not the way you're projecting yourself. I completely agree with you about projecting yourself that's appropriate for that culture, but inside yourself, being honest and not allowing your self-talk to become skewed. Because when you lose touch with reality, that's where all the risks happen. So, you know, keep it real. Be modest, exactly as you say. Absolutely. I think that's a very important value. Okay. Thank you very much, Graham. I know how busy you are. You know how valuable your time is. So I really appreciate it. And again, fantastic insights. Really appreciate it. Are there any other questions from the team?
No, quite clear explanation.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that it was clear. I hope it was valuable to you. And really, Graham, I really appreciate it. So let's talk over the day or two coming forward this week. But I really appreciate you participating and bringing in real world insight, because as the team will tell you, I'm not interested in sharing any theories or anything that are not going to be valuable or useful in real life. And I think somebody like you coming in and talking to us is incredibly valuable in real learning that can be used in a real workplace.
Well, Masood, thanks very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to do this, and thanks to everyone for listening to me today. And you know, look, if after this is finished, if you've got any follow-up questions, you can always ask Masood, and he absolutely knows how to get hold of me. So thanks very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Graham. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So team, would you like to take a little break? it's our normal custom to have 5-10 minutes to have a cup of coffee, or well, let's say 10 to 15 minutes actually is the truth of it. So let me know if you'd like to take a break, and if you would, then I'll do a break now, and then when we come back, we'll start again. Is that okay?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
is 10 minutes okay?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So 20 minutes to the hour. So 10 minutes from now, we'll restart the session. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we'll restart it then. Okay, so see you in 10 minutes. On. I hope you had a good break. So where were we on our presentation? Let me go to the slide where we stopped when Graham joined us, which was here, if I remember rightly. So we're at the first part, which was still the P. We've got 3 more to go: place, price, and promotion. So what I'd like you to do now is to spend a few minutes writing down 3 things that you know people are saying about you, that define who you are, that makes you different as a brand. 3 things you want people to say about you, and 3 things you can do to make this change. And I think the sheet allows you to do that on the template. Now, just before you start, you want to have as accurate a picture as possible. So you want to listen to people from a whole range, but the critical people are the people who are important for your success. People that make decisions that are important for you. That is the audience. Not your best friends who want, like you no matter what. But the people who are decision makers, the people you're pitching to, what would they say about you? If you don't know it, guess it. Then later on, you better go and check if that's accurate. Okay, so just to take a few minutes to fill those in. Okay, let's move on. You can always add to these, as I said, as we went along. Or you could change them later on. The reason why brands are so important is because decision makers use the brand to decide on the investment model that affects you. Whether you get the job where there's competition, whether you get the access to learning and development opportunities, who gets to go on what project. You want to be in the red box or in the blue box, the dark blue. Either of those is where you want to be. And that's about your image. Now, a couple of things about images. A lot of people make decisions, again, emotionally, as we said before, based on brand. And it's important for you to act as if. What I mean about act as if is, some people used to say, oh, well, you're a good person, but I just can't see you in that senior position. Imagining you in that senior position is about you acting as if now. So your brand needs to be future orientated. It needs to say, I can be the more senior person. I can do a bigger job. I can show more value. And that is really, really important. So act as if, and that's your whole image, the way you come across, the way that you look, all of those things. You as a product need to be packaged right, and you are the person in charge to make that happen. a lot of that comes back to what we were saying before about people seeing you as someone with potential, somebody who is going to grow and be ahead of the rest of the people in getting to the level that you want to be. And remember the model of potential we talked about before. I want to also share with you the questionnaire that we looked at, because this is, I think, helpful in you asking yourself, am I demonstrating these in my branding? And also what to look out for so you don't derail yourself, so that you don't get to have a brand that has a negative element attached to it. Look at these, ask these questions, and if the answers are not right, do something about it. Okay, if you're ready, that was the product, your core product, your potential stretch, and the brand. Now we want to talk about the place. What is the right place for you to market yourself to? And that could be a location, you know, a particular place, a particular country, a particular environment, a sector, an industry. You know, Graham talked about being in telecom his whole life. I've moved all over the place: FMCG, banking, telecoms, energy. Job type. Do you want to be functional? Do you want to be a generalist? Do you want to be managing people? Do you want to be a senior specialist? Type of company: family-owned company, large company, small company, startup, established company, global company, and international company. There's a difference between those two. International company just owns other companies. Global has a global brand and a global mindset and culture. You know, different types of companies that would suit you. And then what kind of talent acquisition process are you willing to go through? You know, is it going to be a very structured place? Do you need to go through assessment center? Is it more through with relationship, etc.? So what's the place that you want to market yourself to? I've left this here for reference for you. This is from Hay Group, but it's very useful in looking at grades and bands. I don't know whether you know, but Hay Group and others like Tower Perrin, Mercer's, these are big global companies that look at job sizing, job evaluation, and structure, have these models of how jobs grow in size and importance. And I thought that was quite important in you understanding the steps that these global companies have defined. So you start as a professional, you become a proven professional, you become a senior professional and a manager, you become a functional lead, you become a strategic leader, and then you become a senior executive. And what are the behaviors and the factors? I thought it was quite an important reference. But the fundamentals are a move that is about a specialist into managing other people, from managing people to managing multiple teams, managing a function, managing a business, managing multiple businesses. And that is a normal career progress. And in each one of these, you need to be very clear. Because remember, look at your product. What's the best place where this product is needed? Write down now for yourself 3 sectors, 3 industries, 3 locations where you think your product would find it easy to find a role because there's a need for it there. Types of companies you want to work for, the top 3. And the 3 requirements that you have from any future boss or leader. Just spend a few minutes doing that, please. If you got any questions at any point, please do ask. Let me know if you need more time. Okay, so your target market. Again, remember, this is you as a product to your target market. What is it that are options? How fixed is the role? How fixed is the company? Where is the place where you'll be most successful? Going back to Paul Donovan's rule, which I think also, Graham was talking about Vittorio Colau, who's also my old boss in Italy, used to talk about 65% fit. Often you find some people, say some HR functions will say, take this role because this role will help you develop your weaknesses. Don't listen. That's a mistake. It'll damage your brand. It'll take years for you to recover from a failure. Years. And it'll slow you down. You want to learn with small mistakes while you're being successful in general. So 65% to your strength. Roles that are highly visible. So now I want you to take exercise 5, use the 4 possible future roles and rank them in terms of your preference and your chances of getting them. On the sheet I've given you, when you look at your preference and the likelihood of getting it, that would drive the 3rd column, which is ranking. Because of course, when you got 2 highs, this is my preference and I've got a high chance of getting it, that's where you put your focus. So that'll be your first priority, and so on and so forth. I think you get the idea. This wouldn't take long. We have finite amount of time and resources. And if you were to talk to somebody who's going to help you, they can't help you on everything. You need to be very surgical in what you ask them to do. So this prioritization is very important. You must have your top win and then your backups that are wins, but less top win, smaller win, smaller win. And those priorities are really important in where you put your time, where you grow your network, and where you spend your people and emotional capital. Asking someone for a favor, asking someone to open doors for you. You can't ask them to do it everywhere. You ask them to do it in a specific place that is surgically important for you to do so. So if that's okay, that's the place. Now we're moving to price. Price is the psychological deal. Is what is the price that you will accept? What's the price you need to ask for? What is it they do? What is it you do? So for you, it could be, I'm willing to go to these locations. I'm willing to take this much money or these packages. This is the learning that I'm willing to do. This is the type of contract I'm willing to have, consultancy, zero-based hour, or a long-term contract, guarantee of stay in a particular place, non-compete. I'm not willing to go to, I will promise not to go to a competition, etc. How much job security will I have? What is going to be my work-life balance? How much commitment is this that I need to take away from my family or my hobbies or my friends and give to this job? And in return, this is what I require. What is it that my family's needs are going to be met? Are they going to come with me to another country? What's going to be their benefits? What's the minimum financial compensation, immediate, long-term? What are the type of bosses I would require? What's the type of work I would require? What's the culture of the company I would require? What kind of career and personal development progress will I require? It is really important to know these things before you make the pitch, because last thing you want is someone to come to you with an offer that you're not willing to accept, because that's slamming the door shut in someone's face, and that probably means that they will go away forever. It's good that people should know what is your product, to which market are you pitching it, and what's the deal you're looking for. so they don't pitch to you something that's not acceptable, so that they can make things happen when they're designing a proposition that's already in line with what you are prepared to accept. So this is all part of the pitch. And the critical thing in all of this is timing. Because one of the questions that I get asked again and again is, when is a good time to move jobs? How long should I stay in a particular company? And this is a very, very specific skill, because the timing element is very much tied to the value that you're getting. If you are growing within a company, if you're learning within that company, if you have career progression left in that company, then it's stupid to take the risk of going somewhere else with people you don't know, with a proposition that's a promise rather than sure. You're somewhere where you already know these people. You already know the reality. There is no risk. The other thing is, if you're interested in moving sideways into a new function, into a new locality, it's best to do it within the same company, because you already know the culture. They already know you, and they will take a risk on you because they know you, and they will allow you to do a new function, to learn a new trade. To go into a new job with people that don't know you, the chances of them giving you a chance to learn something you've never done before is very limited. So the movement is about timing. Once you've got all the learning and all the development that this company can do for you, then it's the time to move. And it's very much comes down to what I've already said today and before. It's about how much am I learning? There are people who are repeating the job again and again and again, but the learning that they're getting is now small. And in that situation, it's time to move. It's like a hunter. It says that, stay, 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 and then explode into action. And the price, it's really important for you how to say no. To say no in a way that doesn't put off the other person. To say no in a way that allows them to come back to you again if they found an opportunity that was more appropriate for you. Okay, no to this job, but I've got something that seems to be more like what you need now. Perhaps you could consider it. So these are the things that you need to learn. You need to keep contact continuously with the world. What's going on? What are the opportunities? Where are those opportunities? How is the pricing model changing? What are the deals people are getting? Who's the competition? And invest your time where the best returns are going to be. It's not about working harder. It's about smarter. It's about being seen to add value, like we were saying with Graham. It's about presenting those things in the best light. And making hard choices. You'll have people coming to you with offers. You have to learn to say no, and to say no in a nice way. To say no in a way that is positive, despite the fact that you say no, where they feel that you have gone up in their estimation because of the way you said it. It's a skill. It's about the tone, not just about what you say. So manage people's expectations as well as managing your own. It's a critical part of the pitch. I've called that maturity, because you're getting to really understand the reality and you're banking on that. So here's the exercise on price. I would like you to write 3 essential requirements for your next role, 3 desirable things, not essential, but absolutely what I really hope for, 3 things that are unacceptable to you in the role, no matter what you'll say no to, and 3 things that are not pleasant, but you're willing to tolerate them. Just write those for a few minutes. We're okay to move on, or you need more time? Let me know if you need more time. Okay, I'll move on then. So, promotion. How you become lucky. Because doing all the things you did before, that's fine. But you need to be lucky for the opportunities to come to you. By the way, this whole model is a build on. What that means is if you get the product wrong, or the product is not accurate in terms of the honesty of what you need, no point investing a lot of time looking at the market and the place. Your price needs to match the market to the product. You can't have it in isolation. So the promotion of your luck, make yourself lucky, is what we're talking about here, is the culmination of you getting the product right, then getting your place accurately plotted and your market that you want to pitch your product to, getting the price right, and now you have a pitch. Now it's how you get your pitch to the decision makers. And that's what we're talking about here. The critical thing, and I keep saying this, and it comes from The Art of War from Sun Tzu, so you guys maybe know better than I do, is about market intelligence. It's about knowing what's going on out there. Where are the opportunities? Who are the decision makers? Who is the competition? If you don't know that, you don't know it. Your network is one of your major assets. But the world is a very big place. Where do you grow your network? Where do you put your emphasis? It needs to be where your place and your market, target market is. That's where you want to grow your network. I need to know more people in this industry. I need to know more people in this company. I need to know more people in that location. I need to make sure that those people are sharing their opinions and any opportunity with me. And how do I project my brand and my product to that network so that one, they're aware of me, two, they understand the values I bring, and three, they understand what's different about me, why they should buy. This is about what they call the net promoter score. So people can either give you the opportunity or they could recommend you to someone. You need to keep that network warm. You can't leave people alone for 3-4 years and then suddenly go to them and say, oh, there's a job in your company. Can you help me? Can you introduce me to the right person? Keeping the network warm takes time, takes effort. That's why you need to prioritize. But don't ever burn bridges. Don't ever close doors because you don't know what the future will bring. And you got to continuously grow your network. Your pitch needs to be customized to each market. Now, as an example, for my product, Aerosite product, when I pitch that product to a fresh food grower, I am focusing everything on what the product can do in terms of reducing wastage and increasing shelf life of fresh produce, and therefore the return on investment that the product can bring. When I'm pitching that exact product to a hospital, I focus on how many viruses and how much of the viruses, bacteria, harmful things are destroyed, and how it brings down the rate of illness being given from one person to another or floating in the air. Each one of the pitches is fundamentally different. Now, when people come to you and say, you need to have a different CV, a different brochure for yourself, people say, oh my God, you know, I've got a finite amount of information, who I am, where I grew up, how old I am, what degree I did, what jobs I've been in. I've got to do that in a page, maybe maximum 2 page. I'm just going to make it a technical spec. It's not a technical spec. There's only one purpose to a CV. That's to get you in the door and get you an interview, get you a meeting. It's a marketing document. It's a brochure. Everything is driven by that. So all those rules, should I have my picture? Shouldn't I have my picture? Should it be in colors? Shouldn't it be? Is all answered by who's the audience, what they're interested in, what's going to really get you through the door. And when you're looking at all your options in roles, sectors, type of company, etc., you need to customize your pitch so that it's absolutely right for that market. And that means everything. That means the content and the look of your CV, what you wear, how you present yourself in interview, the examples that you use to illustrate the values that you want to bring. Absolutely needs to be customized. And therefore, you need to prioritize your time and your resources. You can't do it all. That's why in all the elements of this exercise, I've asked you to put down the top 3, maximum top 4. You mustn't just go with the flow. Otherwise, you'll not get to where you want to go or where you will be happy and successful. And none of this can be done in isolation. You need your friends, your family, your ex-colleagues, your current colleagues, your future network to be there to support you, to promote you, to open doors for you, to highlight opportunities to you. It is far better for someone else to say great things about you than you saying great things about yourself. Not just because of the humility, but because of the credibility of what's being said to the listener. So recommendations are absolutely key. And you can't have too many people promoting you. So identify those promoters, make sure that they are pitching the right pitch. This is the product, this is his brand, this is the price that is best suited for, this is the price that it requires and is prepared to pay. So you need to now look at the other exercise and look at who are the gatekeepers that make decisions about your access to those roles and opportunities. Where will you find them? Who do you know who knows them? What's important to those gatekeepers? What are they looking for when they make decisions? Therefore, what should be my pitch? What are the backing evidence? What is the proof points for my pitch? And who will help me influence the gatekeepers? Now, there's a lot of questions here. And I think you will probably need more than 10 minutes to fill this in. And this is the last element of our exercise. So I think you should take your time doing this. Think about it. Fill it in. I don't know if any of you have ever used a mind map, but I found that the mind mapping process is particularly suitable for this, where you start with your core product, you create the places, and then out of the places, you then put down the specific company, specific roles, specific people, and you develop those as a mind map. And against each one, you can put a prioritization. You can put the time allocation, resource allocation. You could put a percentage of how likely it is that you would get those versus how high up on your ranking they are. You could build it up as you go along. But this is for those people that are used to that model of doing a mind map. And I will illustrate a mind map in a minute in one of my future slides going forward. But those who are not, they use the template. Use the template and go ahead. Is there any questions about this before I move on? Because I think this you could do your own time, because it's the last exercise. I think it's the last exercise. I think all we've got left is the actual objective setting, which again could be done in your own time. So how do you promote your luck? Because, you know, in the end, you got to get lucky. An opportunity comes out and it comes to you, not to someone else. Here's what people believe about luck. They think luck is completely random. It's like spinning a coin or going to a casino. Even that's not completely random. It's actually worse. People think that some people are born lucky, that you get luck in a balanced way. Sometimes you get good, sometimes you get bad. If I've got some good, I'll have some bad coming. If I've had some bad, it's about time I got some good. People who believe these things are mistaken. You can make yourself lucky. you can create more luck. The phrase I always like to use is you put yourself in luck's way and let luck find you. None of this is my own thoughts. Again, one of the books that I have talked to you about from the beginning is The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. And there's a chapter in that book about luck, which has touched me. And that is what I'm using here. If you lock yourself away in your bedroom and you don't go out and you don't project yourself and you don't project the right image, luck will not find you. You need to be somewhere where luck can get to you. A very quick joke. There was a very pious gentleman who really believed in God, and every day he prayed to God, please make me a winner in the lottery, make me a millionaire. And he prayed every day and prayed every day. And then he started cursing God and saying, I've been so good, I've prayed to you so much, but you've never given me what I want. And he went to sleep, and God came to him and said, at least buy a ticket. How can you get lucky if you haven't even gone out there and tried your luck by buying a ticket? Go out there. Go out there, let luck find you. Because the reality about luck is that your belief in your own luck is a really important thing. You got to be positive. You got to be brave and bold, not bold like me, but bold as in brave. And try your luck. You'll be amazed how many times it pays off. Set yourself incredible goals. Big, audacious, hairy goals, they call them, I think. Because the luck is on the side of people that are brave. If something bad happens, don't focus on it. It's there, it's happened. Get closure, learn from it, move on. Remember what we said about mistakes. Stay optimistic, enjoy the ride, go for it. Enjoy the winning, enjoy the game. And you're young. When you're young, you have less to lose, you have more to gain. The game is already stacked in your favor. You got to go for it and go into the world, be exposed, go out. Let luck find you. So the critical thing is take risks and celebrate audacious failures. There's nothing better than to have had that experience. And like Graham said, laugh and remember it. It's what gives color to the world. It would be so boring if it just success after success after success, and you wouldn't grow as a person. You wouldn't mature with that. It's like, the world polishing you and making you brighter, rubbing you, all the rough edges. And that's painful sometimes, but it's necessary. Set clear goals and go for them with confidence. And never give up. Keep going. Show thick skin, show resilience, show persistence. It's one of the key differentiators. Because you believe in yourself. You are the most important investment you will ever have in your life. You need to invest in yourself. You are the product that you've got. It's not going to be a different product. You could modify it, you could improve it, you could stretch it. We've talked about that. But it's still you. Like yourself. Believe in yourself. And these are high-flying differentials. So, the reality of the world is everybody's got some talent. Everybody. A lot of people have potential to be better than they are and to grow. A few people know how to manage their image, how to get emotional connection to their brand so people want to be with them, want to be led with them, want to do business with them. The exceptional people understand timing, when to buy, when to sell, when to stay still, and when to burst into action. But only the truly heroic understand how to make their own luck. And we've talked about the hero's journey. The unlocking of the current state, jumping into the turmoil, into chaos, into fear, into risk, and creating a win out of ambiguity and chaos, and coming out with a learning, a better, more mature, more valuable person. So as a hero, you have to have purpose. You take on the challenge because you choose to. It's leadership with a purpose. It's taking on really amazing things that people are amazed that you had the confidence to have a go at. It's doing things for the good of everyone, not just yourself. We talked about this in responsible leadership, to have big impact on many people, on the planet, on the environment, on the company, on everything, not just yourself. It's you choosing your challenge, not having it thrusted on you, being on the front foot, being at cause, having the confidence to go and kill the dragon. And this is accepting the pain, the difficulties that you're going to have, because you choose it. You choose to go through that pain and that trouble. It's not someone doing it to you. This is how the hero runs towards the fire, not away from the fire, because they know they can do it. They've done it before. Every time you do it, you become stronger. Every adversity you overcome makes you a better person, makes you a better leader. So in summary, you get to understand yourself, be true to yourself, be honest, and grow your natural talent. Focus on making it world class. Every time you move jobs or every time you go to a new situation, you have the option of presenting a better version of yourself. Don't get stuck in a rut. Don't get stuck in a mud in some way. Every time you have the option, renew and be yourself, but a better version, a grown version, a fuller version, with better mitigation of your weaknesses, better impact of your strength. You need to really understand how to play the game. The world is not fair. You need to have a clear plan, and you need to execute that with the right brand to the right network. And you need to understand timing. How long do I stay? When do I go? What's the right balance? And finally, confidence and networking and getting out into the world and making a big impact. That's the critical thing. This is my favorite picture of a hero. Remember, we talked about change as a sort of metaphor being the dragon. Go out there and slay dragons till you become known as the dragon killer. The person that can manage adversity for themselves, for others. This is my favorite hero. This is Rostam and his favorite famous horse, Raksh. He is the hero of the Book of Kings, Shahnameh, and he's the Iranian Hercules. He's the classic hero who's selfless, who rescues people, who looks after the weak and the young, who goes through the trials. And one of the trials is killing of the dragon, and then killing of demons, killing of a witch, overcoming adversity, etc. And he's the prototype of a hero in Persian mythology, Iranian mythology. And his favorite companion is his horse called Raksh, who you can see there with the colors of saffron with petal of roses thrown on top, is how he's described. Now, let's talk about what you actually do. So here's the structure, right? This is the direction we're going to go. Where do I find the best learning? Remember, we said traditional training is not the way to go with growing your capability. Job moves, country moves, something fundamental where you delve yourself into an experience. Projects are the critical place to go. Look for those. And the development of yourself, we started the whole module with this, is very much around the core skills of communication, teamwork, managing complexity, then growing your capability by learning about yourself, putting yourself into new experiences, and really becoming comfortable with ambiguity, managing your brand, exploring your network, constantly checking reality, learning to say no, and then learning from your mistakes, going for big audacious goals, and never giving up. This is the journey. In summary, these are all in the previous slides. And the way you do that is through making sense of experiences. Like we said, cold at the first session. Here's what's happened to me. What does it mean? What really happened? What are different perspectives? How does that fit in with my understanding of myself and my understanding of how the world works? Therefore, what should I do differently? Now let me try it. And practice and practice and grow and grow. And the process of learning is exactly the same. Now, I asked you to complete this at the beginning of the session when we first started. I don't know how many people did, how many people didn't. It's not for me, it's for you. But it's really important, in my opinion, for everyone to keep a record of what happened. What did it mean? Because the world is very complex, we're very busy, and human beings, thank goodness, we're very forgetful. Especially mistakes or painful things. Sometimes they stay at the back of your mind, but at the front of your mind, they disappear. And they leave emotion. And they leave negative beliefs that hold you back. And you got to keep them recorded so you could deal with them. So you could take the learning, get rid of the negative emotion, and move on and make yourself stronger. So I would urge you, use something like this all the time, in every meeting. What's the downside? And set yourself clear goals as a result. At the next meeting, this is what I would do. Next presentation, this is what I need to improve. All the time. I don't know if any of you have come across this, but there's so many things going on that would confuse you, that would take away. By the way, this is the mind map I was telling you about. You know, how, if you want to stay focused in a distracting world, here's some ideas that I've put in here for you. But you could use this same map to develop your future plan for future careers. Now, lastly, and again, this is for you, is, all right, what are you going to do? What are the aspects of your life you want to do something about? It doesn't need to be just career. The focus of our program is global leadership and therefore work and careers. But you need balance in your life. Balance is the definition of maturity. So I want you to think about all the things that are important to you, that make you happy, that make you fulfilled, and say, what is it I want to change? What is it that's not quite right? What is it that could be even better? And then think about, what does that mean in terms of the future success? How will I know when it's right? What does that mean in terms of my long-term goals? What does it mean in terms of medium-term goals? What does it mean within the next 6 months? What does it mean about what I need to do tomorrow? Because too many things come at us. It's what I said last week or the week before, I can't remember. If you go with the flow, things that immediately come to you that are urgent will always take your priority. But things that are important for your long-term success never get done. Because they're not asking for your attention right now, immediately, right now. No one's asking you for them. So you let it go. And they never get done. You need to be deliberate. You need to be planful. That's why this session is so much about planning and being deliberate. It doesn't matter that the plans change. It doesn't matter that some of the details are going to be constantly updated. The point is that you are in control. You're driving it. It's not driving you. And for that to happen, you need to have something that's very specific. Now, I don't know how many of you have come across this concept of SMART, that goals should be SMART. My problem with SMART is each one of the letters could mean many things. That's why I've written them all in here. That S is about, oh, make it specific. Oh no, also make it simple. M is about make it measurable or make it meaningful. A is about achievable or action orientated, doable. R is relevant, realistic, responsible for the world and for everybody around you. And T is for timing or moving towards something. Doesn't matter which one of these definitions you specifically use. Frankly, all of them are useful. The point is for you to have a plan which is in this that thing that you can action. 3 or 4 things that you're going to do that are going to make a big difference to you in creating your journey, in moving you towards where you want to go in your life, for your career, for your future moves, to make you lucky. That's the critical element of this particular session. All of that is for you. No one's ever going to ask to see it. And by the way, as your life changes, as you go through different experiences, your needs change, your expectations change, the details change. In my opinion, all those plans constantly needs to be updated and changed, but at least it's yours. You've got it in your hand. You know where you are, you know where you want to go, and you're in charge and you're deliberate. And you can be focused and do the important things that make a difference to you rather than just be thrown around in the massive storm of life by the waves that take you in different directions. Yes, you're in that storm. Yes, we are on that sea, but doesn't mean we don't have to pedal. Doesn't mean we can't make a decision about which direction we go to. How can you be a great global leader? By accident. It doesn't happen. You have to want it. You have to know why you want it, and you have to know how you're going to get there. That's the key. So don't give up. Keep going till you get there. Okay. So that's the end of our session. Earlier than usual, but that's because I'd like you to take time to fill the templates in your own time. We don't need to all sit down here, wait with each other so we can fill the templates. You guys can do that. The templates are my best idea about how to develop a plan. If you have any questions, I'm here. Come and ask me. Very happy to answer them. Very happy to help in any way I can. My time is here for you. The next time we meet will be on your session for your group assessment. I don't know whether you've heard, but we've extended the deadline. It's now Sunday the 12th at lunchtime. The university had confirmed that to me this morning. So you have more time to submit your presentations. And then, you know, we will meet on the allotted time in your presentation, Dr. Giles, Blackburn, and I, and we are very much looking forward to your group presentation. We'll have fun with it. And I'm looking forward to enjoying it, to hearing from you. I think I've done too much talking, and it's now time for me to listen to you, to find out what was your take about this topic, whichever subject you chose to present about global leadership, how you see the issue, what your evidence for it are, what is your analysis of what is key for its future success, and what do you think are the key things that need to be done. And, you know, since I find the subject fascinating, and since you are the future global leaders, it is absolutely imperative for me to hear from you, to hear what you intend to do. Because like all other human beings, I will be present in the impact I had on you, in how you have an impact on the world. It's massive. As human beings, you know, some people say, imagine yourself as energy. This is it. This is the energy we're talking about. I learned something from other people. I'm passing it on to you. You will pass it on to the world. And that's beautiful. That's what it's all about. That's immortality.
Sorry to interrupt.
Please go on.
like I have several like basic questions. I want to ask like while we doing the presentation, should we just like standing there like making because it's an online presentation, should we just like present like as the common one, or can we just sit in front of the table and like doing some body language or some things that
No,
might
no.
be
What
fine?
honestly, it's very good question, by the way. Very good question. Um, Different people have different circumstances, and this question has come up before. So the teams that are together in Leeds, for example, that are in the same location,
Yeah.
have decided they're going to go into a room by all four of them at the same time in front of the
Uh-huh.
same camera and present together one at a time. So one person introduces the topic and then each one of them speaks about the specific elements for themselves. There is a group assessment and a group score.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happens for them. For individuals, and again, this also is true of people in Leeds who are not going to be in the same room. They're going to be sitting in front of a Zoom camera and
Yeah.
presenting from their own room, from wherever they are.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And that's okay too. That's absolutely okay too. The critical thing we'll be looking for is
Okay.
to communicate what is the issue, what's
Yeah.
the evidence for this issue, what are the thoughts and the options for this issue, what could be the solution based on the requirements of the future that I see, and what are the key actions that we need to take. That's it. And the content of the analysis shows me the understanding of the topic. That's it. Very straightforward. And the presentation, of course, is important.
Yeah.
I'd be interested in the content, but yes, you do need to communicate it in a clear way. You need to make sure that you stick with the time. You need to make sure that everybody is participating, etc.
Absolutely, absolutely,
No
absolutely.
problem.
I just want to make sure that should we just like need to stand there because we are not in the different place. We're not in the different place because the space or environment will be different. So
Not
there
a
will be
problem
like
at
some,
all.
yeah,
Look,
yeah.
honestly, I'm not going to grade you or score you or assess you in any way based on your surroundings. So, for example, I'm using a background, which is my own library in another country that that's my library behind me, and I like it, and I love that library, so I use it. I could switch off that, and you could see that I'm sitting in another room in UK, which is nice, nothing. But you could be sitting in an office, you could be standing. I leave that entirely up to you. I'm not assessing that,
Okay,
but
okay.
I am assessing how clear your communication is and
Yeah,
how
of course,
timely
of
it is
course.
and the content. That's it.
Yeah, of course. This was the meaning of the presentation, right?
No, no, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Yeah,
And by the
okay.
way, please try to enjoy it. It's not
Yeah,
meant
of
to
course
be,
you
it's
do it.
not meant to be stressful. It's meant to be, look, I want to make sure everything you do has a learning value. So I want you to imagine you're making a presentation to the CEO or chairman of a company about a topic that that person has raised with you and said, what's going on here? What should we do about it? And I want you to imagine that. And by the way, if things happen, I want to give you feedback that's helpful to you, that will help improve things when you have to do that thing for real.
Yeah,
Okay?
but yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
No problem. Any other question, please come back to me. I'm delighted to help, and we'll answer questions that are coming up. But I don't want to over-engineer it for you. So we're not setting up too many rules. We're trying to keep it as flexible as possible. Any other questions?
Excuse me, sir.
Of course, please, go ahead.
I want to make sure our deadline is changed to 12, right?
It has, yeah, it has changed this morning on your request from your colleagues as well, to the 12th of December, which is Sunday at 12 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay. If there's no other question, I'll end it here. My advice to you is fill the templates while it's still fresh in your mind, so you got something in your hand. I really want you to get something valuable that you could use in an actionable way going forward that'll make you a success personally. And hopefully this session has helped you in that way, and as well as create a summary of all the rest of the module and answered the so what question, which is what I posed at the beginning. But I want to say I've really enjoyed presenting to you guys. I hope it's been as good for you as it has been for me. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next week. In the meantime, have a great few days.
Yeah, you too. Quite nice to see you again.
Thank you so much. Good to have you here. Okay,
ya.
I'll stop it here. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.